Hello and welcome to France 2022, The Choice. It is our daily show covering the presidential race. With 10 days to go before round two, Emmanuel Macron pays a visit to his former prime minister in Western France, while Marine Le Pen has a run-in with the media, and both candidates are openly courting leftist voters. Shirley Sitbon has the story.
It's a sweet reunion in a campaign that proved to be tough. Edouard Philippe, popular former prime minister, hosts his former boss, president, and candidate Emmanuel Macron.
Bonjour. Anna. Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Je peux avoir une petite signature, s'il vous plaît. Bienvenue au Havre.
Macron has come to the Havre port city, where the far-left candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon came first. He seems to be addressing each president personally to sell his program and win the vote. Marine Le Pen is also on a vote quest, but in the south, her plan to lure over residents is to promise a large coalition.
L'Union nationale, oui, on peut aussi mettre des gens du Rassemblement national, mais l'Union nationale, c'est aller au-delà de sa famille politique et évidemment associer des gens de droite, LR, des gens de gauche. Alors on a d'ailleurs...
qui, par exemple, à gauche
mais on verra. Ce débat-là se posera d'ailleurs au moment des législatives.
Emmanuel Macron is not planning to recruit leftists, but to cherry-pick some of their ideas while keeping his main plans unchanged.
Vous voyez bien qu'il y a dans tous les programmes des choses qu'on peut...
Et qu'est-ce que vous allez reprendre?
Je pense que là, sur les questions notamment de planification écologique, absolument, on peut faire mieux et aller plus loin. Voilà.
Covering candidates across the country is not always easy for reporters, especially for those who face extra obstacles. Like the ones working for a satirical news show who were banned by Le Pen.
Ah oui, vous voyez, je suis chez moi. Ben oui, ben, vous savez, je suis chez moi, hein, donc dans mon QG et dans mon mouvement, Monsieur de Libération, qui a toujours eu et été accueilli d'ailleurs. Hein.
If Marine Le Pen is elected, free press would be in jeopardy. That is what Team Macron has repeated. For Le Pen, the president is endangering free press.
Je rappelle que la France est 34e pays en matière de liberté de la presse dans le classement de Reporters sans frontières, derrière le Ghana et derrière l'Uruguay. Donc je ne suis pas sûr qu'il ait des leçons à donner non plus dans ce domaine.
We'll end with a surprising debate. Interior Minister and Emmanuel Macron supporter Gérald Darmanin tells Le Pen's right-hand man Le Pen plans to cut down police funding.
2 milliards sur 7 milliards, c'est 2 milliards par an dans le projet, je l'ai bien lu.
When Bardella denies, Darmanin walks across the set and shows him a national rally chart.
Hop, les mesures d'économie. Immigration, c'est première page, vous n'avez pas bien cherché. Immigration. La forte baisse de l'immigration va permettre de faire baisser de nombreuses dépenses liées à la sécurité.
Donc quel est le rapport avec la police?
C'est quoi la sécurité?
True or false, Darmanin unsettled his rival.
Vos économies sont un pot de lapin.
Non mais vous faites le
Vous
spectacle.
mentez.
That's all from the campaign trail. Meet again tomorrow.
And of course, we've been watching the polls very closely. Mark, what does the latest second round poll tell us?
Well, the latest poll from our partner Ipsos Soprasteria shows that Emmanuel Macron now has a 10% lead over Marine Le Pen, 55% versus 45%. That's a bit more than the first polls taken after round one, but still much less than the result of 5 years ago when Emmanuel Macron got 66% of the vote versus 34% of the votes for Marine Le Pen. And Emmanuel Macron traveled today to the port city of Le Havre. We just saw it in the recap. The former mayor of Le Havre is his first prime minister, Edouard Philippe, and he went there to talk about the environment. Julia Kim has the story for us.
Macron has been visiting the city, flanked by his former prime minister, Edouard Philippe, who is the mayor of Le Havre. They visited dock workers, Le Havre being France's #1 container port, before ending the day at this wind turbine factory behind me. Now, this is an offshore wind turbine factory, and it's the biggest industrial renewable energy project in the country. Macron wants to build 50 more factories like this by 2050 so that France can become carbon neutral by then. Now, Macron has also said that Marine Le Pen, a vote for her if she were to become president, would mean the end of all of this investment. She wants to dismantle wind turbines and also turn her back on renewable energy, which is a growing investment sector.
Je défends le mix qui est plutôt le mien, renouvelable et nucléaire, mais nous avions une stratégie et nous avons une stratégie qui s'inscrit dans ce cadre. L'extrême droite de Madame Le Pen a un projet qui assume, elle l'a redit hier, de sortir des accords de Paris, de sortir du Green Deal européen et de ne pas respecter la neutralité carbone 2050. Donc très sincèrement, qui est écologiste et peut voter pour Madame Le Pen? Il faut me le présenter.
So Macron has positioned himself as the Green candidate, hoping to attract those younger voters, hoping that his message will be clear, despite criticisms in the past of greenwashing of his environmental track record to date. He's coming out saying that he will be the one to fight for climate and that he is the person to vote for if France wants a renewable, sustainable future.
And that's our Julia Kim reporting from Le Havre. Well, for her part, Marine Le Pen is in the southern city of Avignon this evening.
Yes, and so is our Florence Villeminot, who is at the rally. We can cross live to her in Avignon. Florence, this is a region where Marine Le Pen's party, and even under her father, has always been very strong.
Absolutely. There was no random choice with Avignon as the place to hold this massive rally. The National Front and the National Rally have done very well here for years in municipal elections. And in round one of the election, Marine Le Pen did very well here. For instance, the Vaucluse department where Avignon is located, she came in first in that department with about 30% of the vote. So certainly on home turf here in the south of France. Of course, the south and the northeast of France are strongholds for Marine Le Pen. So she was hoping for a show of force with this massive rally, her biggest rally yet, about 5,000 supporters here, some who have voted for Le Pen or the far right since the 80s. So you can see definitely a lot of voters here who are very convinced by Marine Le Pen and have been for quite some time. She gave a fiery speech that ended shortly ago, a 1-hour speech where she said, "Don't doubt on victory. It's never been so close." And certainly the supporters that we spoke to here say that she has a very good chance of winning the second round on April 24th.
Well, Florence, we've seen in this campaign that Le Pen has really tried to make her image more moderate. She really has to sway voters beyond her party faithful to win this election, doesn't she?
Absolutely, and she actually mentioned that in her speech a little while ago. She said that there are 10 days left to convince voters. She said it's the final stretch, it's the most important stretch, and that might explain the symbolism of choosing Avignon, because you see, the area outside of Avignon is definitely Marine Le Pen turf, but the city of Avignon itself actually voted for Mélenchon in the first round of the election. So you can see that's the far left party, and Marine Le Pen knows if she wants to win the second round, she has to go out and get those votes from the left, particularly from Jean-Luc Mélenchon's party, and also from other parts of the left. And it's interesting, she was wearing a red jacket. Red is traditionally the color of the left here in France, and her speech certainly felt like an extended hand to left-wing voters. She focused a lot on social issues, purchasing power, the minimum wage, the importance of investing in public education, in public health, in salaries. She mentioned immigration and security, which are traditional far-right themes as well, but she didn't mention them as much as social issues. And she also spent a long time lashing out at the president, Emmanuel Macron. She called him arrogant. She called him elitist. She says that she hopes that left-wing voters won't block Emmanuel Macron in the second round, won't block Marine Le Pen in the second round, but will block the president and his second presidency.
Florence Villeminot, thank you very much for your reporting from Avignon, and also wearing a red jacket tonight. We welcome our campaign commentator Angela Diffley to talk about a proposal both candidates have put forth, that is the use of a referendum. In France, referendums have been used, but how often?
Well, General de Gaulle made a lot of use of referendum in France. He notably had one for the independence of Algeria. And also, again, after the May 68 riots, he said to the people, either back my reforms on regionalisation and the Senate, or I will resign. They rejected them, and he went. So that was it for General de Gaulle. The last time in France that there was a referendum was in 2005, when the French were asked to vote on a European Union constitutional referendum, whether or not constitution for the European Union, and they chose to reject that quite firmly. Jacques Chirac had campaigned very vigorously in favour of it, and worth noting that later on Nicolas Sarkozy made sure that most of the elements of that European Union constitution were then backed when the Parliament in France ratified the Lisbon Treaty, which contained most of those key elements. But he learned the lesson: don't put it to a referendum. That caused a lot of problems afterwards, that European Union constitution was rejected by the French and kind of introduced again via the back door.
Well, so Angela, why the sudden popularity of referendums?
Yeah, both, as Mark said, both Le Pen and Macron have been talking about them. There are two reasons, really. One is that there is a worry that abstention is on the rise, that there needs to be a way of engaging people more, and the idea of one issue, direct democracy, might do the trick. There's no guarantee that it will, but that's possible. Marine Le Pen has said she would like to put to a referendum reforms of the French constitution so that the status of foreigners might be changed, and so that access to French nationality might be changed. And the other thing she would like to be introduced after a reform of the French constitution, if she wins her referendum, is that French law would prevail over European Union law. That would, of course, create huge problems within Europe. As for Macron, he's more wary of referendum, but he has this week, seeing that it could be a useful election idea, he has said that he might consider putting his very controversial retirement age up for referendum if it's very contested.
What are the arguments in favour and against referendum?
Well, as we've said, it can be used to brandish if there's a legal challenge. Marine Le Pen is particularly interested in that, particularly on immigration. Anytime there has been an attempt to introduce new immigration laws, they've often fallen foul of legal challenges. So she wants to be able to brandish a referendum and say, this trumps any legal problems, and she hopes that her legal advisors are right on that. The other reason, she says, immigration, big issue, impacted France a lot. The people have never really been asked. The cons of a referendum are: ask anybody in Britain, Brexit, complex issues don't always have a binary answer, and also people don't always answer the question they're asked.
Thank you, Angela.
Okay, and we're going to finish on a lighter note, Mark.
Yes, the Gaullist candidate, Valérie Pécresse, probably was one of the biggest losers of the first round. First of all, she got only 4.7%, the worst performance ever for her party. But not only that, she finds herself in dire financial straits with a personal debt of 5 million euros. So she's begging her sympathizers to pony up. And someone on the far left of the political aisle heard her call. The Trotskyist candidate Philippe Poutou tweeted, tongue-in-cheek, let's put it this way, that since Valérie Pécresse had overestimated her ability, he was ready to lend her his 308 Peugeot car for several days. The 308 Peugeot, you can see it on your screen, is not the fanciest of car by any means, but it is nice to see such kinship in a presidential race where nice words are not often used. And this is indeed maybe a nice gesture. And we'll end this for tonight.
Okay, Mark, that's for sure. Okay, that's it for this edition of France 2022 The Choice. Join us tomorrow at 8:15 p.m. Paris time here on France 24 for the next installment.